you're watering down your dream because you don't believe in yourself or because you think that you should do this thing. Today, I want to talk about looking at our life, looking at the situations that we're in, and thinking, how did I get here? And this can be from a positive or a negative lens. I want it to be completely objective, actually. Look at all of the pillars in your life that are important to you in every different category. And I want you to go through and I want you to rank how you stack up 0 to 5 for each one. 5 being it couldn't be any better, you're thriving in it. So I want you to break this down into each category in your life. We're going to have each of these as pillars. You have relationship, so your primary relationship, if you have a spouse, if you have a partner. And that one I'm keeping at the top because your partner is the biggest decision that will massively influence everything else that happens in your life. You spend more time with them than anyone else. Another pillar is friends or social. You can also group other relationships in there. So maybe with your parents, maybe with your siblings. Third is finances. And then we have job, spirituality, and health. So we have 6 pillars, and I'm going to have you go through, and I want you to rank 0 to 5 how you're doing in each one of those. Relationship, friends or social, finances, job, spirituality, health. 6 things. So do that right now. 5 means you are thriving. It could not be any better. 0 means we have a lot of work to do. You're not happy at all with where you're at. And if we take these one by one, I want you to look one pillar at a time and think, how did I get here? I want you to reverse, backtrack all of the decisions that you've made in your life, maybe any pattern that has led to this moment. I'll share an example with relationships. I've had multiple, I will say toxic or abusive relationships. And when I look at the patterns, I'm attracting the same things in, or I had been, because I had unhealed wounds. I was triggered by conflict, aggression, yelling. And so that's what I was drawing in. I had to look at, how did I get here? How did I get into this abusive relationship? How did I then stay there for years? How did I not leave? Why? And I don't want you to logic think your way through, well, these were the situations and this was the finance and this is why I stayed, because those are all excuses. And I had them too. And my friends would tell me, Caitlin, it's simple. You just leave. And I was like, well, no, you don't understand. It's more complicated than that. It's not that simple. And it's not. There's variables. But at some point, if you want to change your life, you have to do something about it. Breaking this down into what was going on within me that kept me there. I was in an abusive relationship. I didn't believe in myself. I pedestaled the world and I pitted myself. I had crippling self-doubt. I thought everybody else is smarter than me. I had abandonment wounds. So I was afraid to leave, but I was also afraid of them leaving me. I had a deep wound of, I'm not good enough. But if I was in a relationship and I was getting breadcrumbs every so often, that was positive reinforcement. That was telling me that sometimes I'm good enough, or that I'm good enough if I do X, Y, and Z. And so I was tolerating less than the bare minimum because I was getting that reinforcement, and because of the belief in myself, I accepted it. And I told myself that that was what I deserved, that that's what I was worth. So when you look at it through that lens, how did I get here? I want you to break it down and look at every dynamic. Look at more than just your current relationship. Look at your last 3. Look at your last 5. How have your relationships spanned out over the last 10 years? What about friends or social or other relationships? Are they something that you prioritize? And this one might be variable by different people. For example, I focus on my primary relationship, and then I have 1 or 2 other close relationships in my life. And other than that, I'm good. And I don't need a lot of face-to-face time. I just need to know that I have somebody's back and that they have mine. And we can go months without talking, and then we reconnect like we never missed a beat. For other people, they need to be around their friends regularly. They need to communicate with their friends regularly. And it's just, people are different. But when you look at what your standard of, what is 5? What is thriving? Are you there? What is your definition of thriving? So if you're happy with where something's at, great, give it a 5. And if you're not, for example, if you're like, why do I never have any friends? Why do I only have people for a couple of years at a time and then I lose all my friends? Well, let's look at the patterns. Have you ever screwed your friends over? Have you ever been selfish? Have you ever taken more than you've given? Have you ever given so much, let people take from you, and then gotten frustrated because you didn't set boundaries? And so then you're just done with people. It can happen both ways. Look for all of the patterns in your life. These are all great questions to ask. What actions, what inputs am I putting into these categories? Because wherever you're at right now, that's the output. And if you want to change it, change the inputs. If you want more friends, if you want better relationships, put more inputs into it. Give more there. Put more time and attention. If you want different friends, put more time and attention into selecting the friends that you're around, or put more time and attention into leaving the ones that aren't with you. Whether you've outgrown them, whether they were never really your friends to begin with, start making changes. Do what you need. What's going to get you to a 5? Next is finances. And this one has layers. First, I want you to think of where your finances are. Where are they on average? Do you have extra money? Do you set money aside? Or are you constantly in debt? Are you constantly spending? Are you constantly in debt, but you're like, I don't know why I'm in debt? Look at your patterns. Do you go and do retail therapy and order a bunch of stuff right before vacations, or take a lot of vacations? Or do you go buy things when you're stressed out or when you're sad? Do you overspend? Do you go spend all your money on the bars every weekend? Do you buy extravagant things? If so, cool. But know that that's what you're prioritizing over whatever you say your goal is. So if your goal is to have X amount of money on the side and be able to invest it, then you're not living in alignment with what you say that you want if you're blowing all your money on these other things. So just start looking at, how are my actions contributing to the output? What inputs am I putting to get the result? How did I get here? All right, next is job. In your job, would you rate where you're at a 5? Are you happy? Are you thriving? If you're not thriving, why the fuck are you still there? There is a place that exists that makes you happy. And I want to point out that if you're not happy in any job that you have found, maybe it's because you're looking for jobs that don't align with you anymore. Maybe it's because you're not listening to the inner voice that's telling you what you want to do, what you have interest in, the mission that you want to have in the world, and you're watering down your dream because you don't believe in yourself, or because you think that you should do this thing, or because this is what you went to school for. It's the sunk cost fallacy. You can do whatever you want. If your heart is telling you, I don't want to be in this field anymore, I think I want to pivot, then you're never going to be happy in this spot. You're never going to be at a 5. And this is where we have to start listening to that deep voice inside ourselves. If we want to build a life that is aligned, if we want to build a thriving life that we're truly fulfilled and satisfied by. The sunk cost fallacy steals so many dreams in relationships, in jobs. We'll stay in a job or a relationship we hate just because we've already put money and time and effort into it. If it's not working, it's not working. If it's not for you, it's not for you. So why spend more time? Why sink the ship even further when you know it's not for you? There's a quote that I read that's, when you realize you're on the wrong train, it's better to get off sooner, because the longer you stay, the more expensive the return trip is going to be. And it's not about trains. Next is spirituality. Now, this is also religion. Are you happy with that pillar of your life? Are you set? If you're at a 5, cool, move on to the next one. If you're not, if you know that you want more connection, if you know that you really want to hammer down on your belief system, if you know that you want to live more congruently with your spirituality or your beliefs, why haven't you done it already? You're probably lacking the inputs. You're probably not putting it in your calendar. You're probably not prioritizing it. And just like anything else, When we don't prioritize it, when we don't put attention to it, it doesn't happen. And so we can have all the intentions in the world. We can say, oh, well, this is what I want. But then when our behavior doesn't align with it, nothing changes. We stay stuck. We live the same life over and over. If you want more, you have to go get it. If you want to grow, you have to change the inputs, because the current inputs that you're doing are going to keep you exactly where you are. So if we're going to expand, we got to change. And that applies to every pillar. That applies to everything. Next up is health. Are you happy with where you're at with your body? That's not just weight and aesthetics. That's, how are my stress levels? How's my cortisol? Am I fueling my body with healthy foods? Have I gotten myself into a diseased state because of the way that I have taken care of my body over the last 10 years? Have I started operating at such a low depressive frequency, hating myself and being negative about everybody and everything, that I'm just mentally heavy all the time and I'm exhausted and I don't want to do anything, and my life reflects that, and now my body reflects that? If you feel like that hits, that needs to change. It starts with the negative beliefs, the negative self-talk. It starts with talking negatively about yourself, talking negatively about people. All of it has to stop. You want to pick up the frequency? Move your body. Physically get up and start moving. Get blood flowing through your body. Move energy. Do some breath work. And from there, have a mental check-in multiple times a day. Where am I at? If I'm down here, I know I better do something to pick myself back up, or else I'm going to fall back into the trap. I'm going to fall back into the life the same day that I was living over and over and over again and hating it and being negative and feeling terrible and shifting slowly and morphing into this diseased state, whether it's mental, emotional, physical. Where are you? 0 to 5. What inputs are you doing now? What inputs have you done over the last 3-5 months consistently? Because that's what's gotten you to where you are. If you want to be in a different spot, what inputs do I have to do? Who do I have to become now in order to change the output? And it's relevant for all of these. There's a great book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, and it talks about habit stacking. If you have a habit that you already do every single day, start pairing it with another one that will sequence another chain of events. The example in the book that he has is if you come home from work and you take off your shoes and you go sit on the couch, you know that you're going to end up sitting on the couch and watching TV. If you change that, you come in, you take off your shoes, you go put on your gym clothes and you go to the gym. That's a difference. It causes a different chain of events. Because if we go sit on the couch, oh, well, now we're sitting down, now we're comfortable, now, well, I get out that glass of wine, I get out this remote. No, choose differently. And you have to be willing to hold yourself accountable. You have to be willing to call yourself out. You have to be willing to say, these are the inputs that I'm doing. This is the result that it's giving me. I know I'm not living up to my potential. I know I'm doing myself a disservice when I do X, Y, Z, and I say I want this other thing. I've caught myself in spirals when I'm having anxiety or when I'm depressed. You observe your thoughts, and I'm like, Caitlin, none of these looping thoughts, none of this negativity, none of this low energy bullshit is good for you. So what do you have to do to raise your frequency? Let's observe the thoughts, let them go. Let's get the body moving. Let's do some breath work. Let's look at, why do I believe this? Why am I thinking this? Bring it back to the trauma ball. So looking at these with an overview with toxic relationships, I was trying to earn love. I was trying to do everything all right. I was trying to have control over the outcomes of everything. And then I was walking on eggshells, trying to perform, trying to do everything in such the right way that I was abandoning myself, that I wasn't feeling emotionally or physically safe, but I was doing it because I was getting love, because somebody was choosing me, because I didn't have the self-worth of the self-validation. That's how I got there. If you're burned out in your job or in your business, how did I get here? Did I say yes to everything? Did I overextend? Am I just doing a lot and not being fulfilled by it? If I'm not fulfilled by something, yes, I'm going to be burned out if I'm doing it constantly. If I'm fulfilled by what I'm doing, I don't get burned out. But you get burned out when you take on more and more, and because you think your output equals your worth. And that's the thing. That's the self-belief that needs to change, because your worth is not tied to your output at all. So how did you get here? Or do you have friends and relationships and you get to this breaking point where you're so frustrated and you feel like all you do is give, and you feel like nobody appreciates you, and you're mad and you don't feel seen. Well, how did you get here? Were you avoiding conflict, people pleasing, not giving people feedback, not saying, hey, when you did this thing, it felt like this? Or, hey, I didn't feel appreciated when I did all of these things, and it didn't feel good for it to just get ignored. Are you avoiding hard conversations? Is that the thing that has finally led you to be frustrated because you're afraid to say the wrong thing, or because you're afraid to create friction? It's okay to have conversations. It's okay to say how you feel. Because if you get it out while it's still just this little, oh, hey, that didn't feel great, that's a small conversation. When you let it build up and it becomes this wound, now you get really frustrated. You freaking explode when, the 1 grain of rice can tip the scale. And then, woo, off to the races. Did you not stand up for yourself? Did you sacrifice your needs? Did you sacrifice your safety, your voice? How did you get here? I was sexually assaulted. How did I get there? I was afraid to leave. I could have, but I was afraid to cause friction. I was afraid to rock the boat. I was afraid to upset somebody or hurt their feelings. So I abandoned myself and I sacrificed my physical, emotional, mental safety. It's the limiting beliefs. It's the lies that we tell ourselves. It's the story that we think is the beginning, but it started long before we realized it was even happening. And that's what I want you to do with every pillar. Look back at all of these patterns. And once you recognize maybe what the wounds are or what the patterns are, sit there and see if you can reflect, how far back does that go? I had a financial wound where it was just a scarcity mindset around it. And I've made mistakes with friends with money, over-asked, overcharged, took advantage, things that I'm not proud of, because in those times I was hurting for money and I had this wound. And so I was just trying to get, just like a dog who has been on the street, who hasn't had food, once they get a chance to have food, they're going to get as much as they can. They're going to scarf it all down and they're going to guard it from other dogs. And that's what we do with money. When we're not used to money coming in, we're used to there being scarcity around money. And so you end up being a taker. And so that affects your finances because it's a financial wound, but now it's affecting your relationships. Food for thought. It started when we called it in. When we attracted people, places, situations, traits with our unhealed wounds. We called all of that shit in. You can't say life's happening to you, because life is happening for you. And what's happening is because you are attracting what you are. You are going to attract more of what you are. If you are negative, if you are scared, if you have limiting beliefs, you're going to continue to attract all of that, because that's the frequency that you're operating at. When you are abundant, when you are positive, when you are in love with life, when you are in the present moment, life shifts. I hope this one was helpful. Let me know in the comments, and don't forget, take the wild way home.